Welcome back to It's a Vase Productions. If you're wondering why I say welcome instead of welcome, it's because in the first episode of an awesome show called Still Game, they make a great joke about that. You'll have to watch it to find out more, if you haven't already seen it. And if you feel like watching me watch it, I'm just about finished season 3. I'm gonna watch them all, but you can watch my reactions if you go to my channel's homepage. There is a playlist devoted entirely to Still Game. Now then, I've watched one Mock the Week thing from Frankie Boyle, and it was called Too Hot for TV, but then someone else said you have to do part 2 and part 3, and then I looked those up, and I hadn't even done the actual part 1. I did a different compilation, but the one that I looked at is as long as each one of these other 3, so I'm certain there's stuff that I haven't seen. I'm gonna watch the other 3, starting off with 1 right now.
But what does TFHC stand for?
Is the doctor saying try flicking his cock? Is it this fucker has cancer? More tax cuts for businesses. That's the first thing they've come out with is basically more money for bastards. That's the Tory policy. The next policy will be you don't have to pay the congestion charge if you're on horseback and hunting a tramp. The actual government policy they're talking about is having cohabiting legislation. So if you've stayed with someone for 2 years, they have married rights and they can get half your stuff, which is playing into my hands because my stuff is shit. I will happily trade it for 2 years of sex. So she's got the perfect opportunity, hasn't she? That bit where they're making a present and they go, send your parents out of the room. She can pretty much say what she likes to children, eh? Send your parents out of the room, we're making an advent calendar. Rebel by killing people and blowing shit up. That's what I want to see in a leader. Someone who can crush a man's head like a beer can. He still gets a hard time about the whole Litvinenko thing, doesn't he? I just think Litvinenko wasn't a very good spy if he doesn't know not to accept a glowing cup of tea from a glowing teapot from a man who appears to be wearing a spacesuit. I was going to make jokes about Russians all being gangsters, but some Russian people spoke to me, and all I'd like to say is I'm looking forward to Chelsea continuing their great start to the season and the safe return of my pregnant wife.
And it's environment.
Didn't that used to be an advert for mints? Everyone complained about the floods, didn't they? I like storms. I like thunder and lightning. What I like to do during a storm is shag my girlfriend and pretend that we're taking part in the conception of the Antichrist.
25 in a row. What is the question?
Is it you've just been picked up whilst hitchhiking? What's the last thing you want to hear the truck driver chuckle as he nods towards the 24 empty rucksacks in the back? Do you know when you have to make something out of papier-mâché, do you just not need glue? There's a thing in Scotland this week where they've introduced philosophy for primary school children who are already quite philosophical, having watched all their brothers and sisters die in a series of unrelated chip pan fires. I always found at school the one thing I could never work out was how to get girls' bras undone. I just couldn't work out. And then eventually I realised that these girls were wearing a different type of bra from my gran. Isn't the whole thing with school, though, that it's never going to be as stimulating as life is now for children? Because they've got, like, blockbuster movies and video games. You know, there's no way that school can be as stimulating as Tekken. Sir, why have you got the head of a leopard? Quiet boy, fireball.
Which British sportsman will be looking for a new job soon?
It's Tim Henman is going to retire, isn't he?
Apparently, yes, with bad back, yeah.
He said his decision is because of his 2 young daughters, who regularly beat him in straight sets. If Tim Henman had won Wimbledon, it would have been so weird, it would have actually torn a hole in our reality. Oh, Henman's won, and here to present the trophy is Winston Churchill with the head of a bee.
Bad things to hear on an airplane.
That's the first cloud I've ever seen with a ski lift on it. Louisa and her in-flight team will be looking after you today, and your hijacker's name is Ibrahim. This is a no-smoking flight, although do feel free to join me in the cockpit where we've opened a window.
The worst person to be married to.
When I said I was a positive person, I meant HIV. I've contracted so many sexually transmitted diseases, I now ejaculate penicillin. He sleeps in the bed with us, OK? Don't make me choose between you and the wolf. I'm happy to say I do. I do animals.
Here's a picture of diabolical mastermind Osama bin Laden. But what does NOTR stand for?
Is it never order the Rohypnol? Someone put Rohypnol in my drink. You ordered the Rohypnol. His catchphrase among his friends, apparently, is nuts on the road. That's what he says to mean sort of OK. They go, shall we go out for pasta tonight? Nuts on the road, we will. But the environment as well, he's got environmental as well. You think that's a bit rich coming from him? Without air travel, we'd never have heard of him. Politicians all now have to pretend not to be racist, despite the fact that they're all quite happy to be racist if they think it will get them votes. You know, so you see, like, Tories pretending not to be racist. It's terrible, the controls they're putting on Eastern European immigration. Don't people know that these are the last prostitutes in the world that you can pay in turnips? You know, they need to be English educated to GCSE standard.
Yeah.
Yes.
If someone's given me a hand job, do I really care if they've read Death of a Salesman? In fact, it'll probably just make it more depressing. It was the anniversary of Elvis's death recently. People still think that Elvis faked his death. Surely if you were going to fake your death, you wouldn't do it in a shitting accident. I mean, you'd do something brave, wouldn't you? Rescue a wee boy from a river. Surely not a jobby-related heart attack. You can get celebrity sat-navs now. You can get a Princess Diana sat-nav. It just keeps saying, put your foot down, I think we can lose them. I'll be honest with you, that joke can go either way.
Middlesbrough, Rill and Liverpool. What is the question?
Is it my car's been stolen and cut into 3 pieces? Where is it? Is it what are the first 3 chapters of the book Places Not to Grow Up Gay? If I lived in one of those towns, I'd be delighted to die. Oh, there's a sniper on top of the town hall. Great, let's get down there.
What has science been given the go-ahead to create this week?
They've been given the go-ahead to create human-animal hybrids.
Yes, they have, exactly, yeah.
And the scientists are very excited because they've already had tremendous success with Wayne Rooney. He's injured at the minute, but the boy's got spirit. He's prowling the touchline like a caged potato.
The first subject is what a news reporter would never say.
Rape, murder, arson. I've had a fantastic weekend. And I can't help thinking that if my country was gripped by famine, I'd just move. And if anything can be learned from this high school massacre, it's surely this. Don't mess with goths. They're fucking mental.
The next topic is unlikely letters to be read out on Points of View.
Dear Points of View, watching Queer Eye for the Straight Guy made me think that if I made gay friends, they'd give me fashion tips. Actually, they fucked me. The other night, I watched Nigella Lawson and picked up a couple of good tips on baking bread. And in the process, I just about ripped my cock off. Sheltered upbringing if your idea of a bad uncle is someone who brings you a Nutri-Grain bar. No. Is someone who runs into the house at 12 at night shouting, "Hide me, I've killed a kid."
Here's a picture of Lib Dem leader Sir Mingus Campbell at his party conference in Brighton. But what does PMOC stand for?
Horrendous, doesn't it? He looks terrifying. Didn't I kill him on level 3 of Resident Evil? Is it Peter Mandelson's oldest conquest?
What problems has he faced at the conference?
He's an old bastard, Dara. He was the guy who founded the Ming Dynasty. It's not even so much that he's just old, he's so sort of lifeless and lacks energy. There's more life left in Robin Cook. He's got one white blood cell left and it's fighting the Alamo. Look at him, no wonder Flash Gordon won every week. Isn't it? Surely if anyone's praying for an early election, I mean, he must be praying for an early election. It's number 2 on the list in his prayers after painless death. He says he wants a greener vision of Britain. Yeah. He's going to have a greener vision of Britain, isn't he? Yeah. Because soon he's going to be looking up at it through about 6 inches of grass. He's got a 4% approval rating, Min Campbell, which is nothing. Right? So they could just have anybody lead them. It's not going to make any difference. So I say, come on, let's get Lee from Blue. Policies aren't going to come into force and say what everyone wants. I think that the homosexuals should declare war on the robots.
Let's spin the wheel. The first subject is health. Going to volunteer, Frankie.
Part of the side effect of the smoking ban in Scotland is that every pub, no matter how terrible or horrible, now has tables and chairs outside it. Basically, Glasgow looks like Paris after a nuclear war. People say there's no such way as a good way to die, and those people have never heard the phrase drug-fuelled sex heart attack.
The answer is 25 pence.
How much would I have to be paid up front to kill Jeremy Clarkson? What would it cost to have sex with Miss Columbia 1978 through an enlarged knothole in an outside lavatory door in Bogota? What's top prize on Romanian Deal or No Deal? I took Viagra once. I took Viagra and I had a hard-on for so long I had to give it its own shelf in the fridge. Don't bother with Viagra. I don't bother with Viagra anymore. What I do is I sprinkle powdered rhino horn on a tiger's gallbladder, but often by the time I've heated it up in the microwave, the woman's managed to wriggle free. Viagra's saved marriages, though, hasn't it? Because people are now still able to shag their wives long after they become physically repulsive. I wonder about that old woman that gave birth at 63. Because that baby can't have had to force its way out. I mean, every time she went for a shit, it probably had to brace itself. But it's a pity that they've done away with Celebrity Big Brother, isn't it? Because he'd have been brilliant on that. Day 63, OJ is painting a version of the Guernica using the intestines of Charlie from Busted.
First subject is what a rugby commentator would never say.
Rugby was invented at a famous English public school, which was, of course, called St Bumington's Academy for Young Puss. This young man has a brilliant playing career ahead of him, followed by a bleak career as an after-dinner speaker before his suicide at 40.
Unlikely things for a royal correspondent to say.
There's the Queen with the crown jewels on her head as Prince Philip performs a 69. This man's a good friend of Prince Edward's, a euphemism for homosexual. Prince Harry hasn't been put off by the congestion charge. He says he still manages to come into Chelsea twice a day. It's great to see the whole family waving from the balcony through the sights of my AK-47. I've got to keep my voice down because I'm standing in the echoing hallways of Camilla's vagina.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week for the last in series with a special show. Till then, I'm Dara Breen. Good night.
Oh my goodness. Frankie Boyle is amazing. I really need to watch some more of his stuff. You guys have thrown me suggestions for, like, he was on a sketch show or something like that. Tramadol Nights. Frankie Boyle, I gotta check that out. I gotta watch some of his comedy. Because really, I've just watched him on Mock the Week, and I've watched him make fun of his audience. I haven't watched him actually just do stand-up, except for the bit he has about Michael Jackson's Children's Hospital. I did watch that. Michael Jackson's Children's Hospital. But he is just awesome, man. And that was something I noticed about when the smoking bans happened too. You'd get all the restaurants and bars now have like outside seating. It's like, oh, I love the outside. It's like, yeah, they only have this, and because of COVID, actually, they had to do that too. because for a while there, it's like you could only have outdoor spread out, you know, the whole. But yeah, good stuff. Frankie Boyle, absolutely fantastic. Of course, I got to keep watching Still Game. That's what I've mostly been doing, but I want to mix back in some of the comedy reactions. So you've asked for more Frankie Boyle. You've asked for Kevin Bridges, Mickey Flanagan, Flanagan, one of the, something like that. And of course, the Big Yin. So I will do my best to keep those coming out as well. Of course, I'm going to keep the Still Game reactions coming. And if you're enjoying the content, I'd appreciate it if you would like, comment, tell me what else to watch, and subscribe. All right, I'll see you next time.